Hi, and welcome to the ladies' room. We're having so much fun already today because Walker Vreeland is here. You all know him from WBAZ or his afternoon show. He is a performer, a radio personality. And God, you're so multi-talented. I don't even know what to ask you first.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's so good to be in the ladies' room.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, we
Feels
get to put
a little
on makeup
scandalous.
and
I
comb
know.
our
I think I
hair.
have more makeup on than you do.
I don't think so, but anyway, I saw you, BAZ had a party at, I guess, Watermill Square, and the Paul Mahas was playing.
That's right, a couple of years
and
ago.
they said, oh, and now Walker's going to sing. And you
right.
sang some incredible show tunes, and I was so blown away. You're so talented.
Thank you.
Then I read your biography online, and it is so funny.
Thank you.
You have gone to some incredible schools, but as a child, how they took advantage of you.
Yeah, that was a wild experience. I mean, I really have been doing theater all of my life, so radio is relatively new for me. But I started when I was 10 or 11 years old, and I've always been a singer and a performer, and
you went
started
on the
young,
road with Phantom on the Opera.
I did.
How old
when
were you then?
I was 12 years old, and I went to Australia with a cast and crew.
And
it
your
was
parents
wild.
were just like, okay with that?
My parents are amazing. They were always amazing. They always let me do exactly what I wanted to do. When I was 11, I told my parents, I want to be an actor. This is what I'm going to do with my life. And they were always supportive. I was really lucky. Really lucky. Because most kids, a lot of kids, aren't as lucky.
Yeah. Well,
they don't have as supportive
obviously,
families.
there was a path chosen for you that was coming from somewhere else, and you just followed it.
Definitely.
But you didn't have, it wasn't easy. There were a lot of emotional
Absolutely
things involved because the Baltimore, what was it, the Baltimore Conservatory Theater or something?
The Baltimore Actors Theater Conservatory.
And they had a dinner theater.
Yes, and that's
you
that's
kids
how
were
I.
all like child labor.
That's
in
right.
that dinner theater.
It was really intense. I'll say that. I mean, there were wonderful aspects of it, and I have wonderful memories of that time. It was also really scary. I mean, there were these two tyrannical dinner theater directors who really, they thought that they owned your soul, and so they. There were all kinds of rules and restrictions.
And it was like military kind of.
It was almost like a military school. You weren't allowed to have a social life. I mean, they told you you're not allowed to date, each other. You're not allowed to go out on the weekends. You can't basically have a life. You can't have friends. It was really strange.
So it was a boarding school.
It wasn't a boarding school, but it was
But
like...
you couldn't go out on weekends when you were home?
Well, that's what was so ridiculous, is that they thought they had this... They were sort of delusional in that they thought they could control everyone's life, They couldn't. But they thought that they could, and a lot of it was brainwashing, so that you sort of lived in fear of what they thought of you.
Yeah, and you also wanted their approval
exactly,
all the time.
and that I think it's such a vulnerable time, at that age when you're 11, 12, and you're approaching adolescence, that can have a really a big impact on you of needing someone's approval.
So you wound up in psychoanalysis.
Oh, God, did I ever. 20 years of therapy. I'm finally done. I think 20 years is enough, I got, approached my 20th year of therapy, and I was like, I think I'm good.
A big graduation party?
I didn't. I slowly just sort of withdrew into the sunset.
What were your favorite shows that you did when you were in the theater as a child?
I did so many. Did Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah. What part did you play in Phantom?
I had an ensemble part, really small part.
But great singing all the time. And dancing.
Yeah, and it was exciting to feel like a part of something. Because I went to.
In Australia.
I had been at an all-boys private prep school called Gilman School in Baltimore, Maryland.
Right.
And it was very sports intensive, very competitive.
Yeah.
And that was not
Not
my
your
thing.
cup of
I was
tea.
singing, when I was 10, 11, I knew every lyric to Les Miserables. I was obsessed with Jesus Christ Superstar.
And you were in that.
I was.
What part did you play in
I
that?
was Jesus, but that was in high
goodness.
school. That was in high
Oh,
school,
that's
yeah.
so much fun. I went to the opening night.
You did?
Yeah, on
Oh,
Broadway.
okay,
Yeah,
wow.
My
The
boyfriend
original?
at the time was a big producer.
Okay.
He produced Hair. And so
In
we
the
went to-
original Broadway
Yes,
production?
yes, the opening night.
Wow,
Yeah.
incredible.
It was really quite the night, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, at that time, I really was longing to be with my own kind. You know what I mean? And that going to that school was wonderful in that sense, in that I really got to be around other kids who were like me,
Yeah, sure.
that loved the same things that I did.
You were in Godspell.
I did that in college.
Yeah, that must have, I mean, somehow spiritually that must have been very heartwarming. And I mean, I still
Yeah.
get the chills when I hear some of those songs from Godspell.
Yeah,
You know,
great show.
Day by Day, isn't that from Godspell?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Love it. I sing it when I'm walking
All
my
good
dog on the
gifts.
beach.
Yep.
Such a great show. So then you went to, you got a BFA from.
Well, before
the
that,
school,
I
and
went
you moved
to
back to New York.
I went to another school for the arts. Believe it or not, that Baltimore school I went to until my sophomore year, and then I went to a school called Walnut Hill
Oh, right.
in Natick, Massachusetts.
Right.
And that was the real deal. I mean, that was wonderful. I mean, they were some of the best years of my life because of the friends I made, but also because of the training. I mean, the professional training. It was unlike anything I had ever experienced.
Is that where they kind of untrained you from all of the
Exactly.
business that they taught you for dinner?
I had a
because
lot
dinner
of bad,
theater is so broad.
Exactly,
and-
exactly. I had a lot of bad habits.
Yeah.
I had a lot of bad actor habits from doing dinner theater. A lot of big gestures.
Yeah, sure.
And so,
Ta-da!
yeah.
And now.
Yeah. So they had their work cut out for them, undoing all of that.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went to New York University, and I went to Tisch School of the Arts. And
Did you meet Stella Adler?
I didn't. Stella Adler died in the early 80s.
I met her. I almost
did?
went to Stella Adler.
Really?
She was so old then. She had so much mascara on.
Yes.
It was like all this clumpy
Yes,
stuff.
she did wear a lot of mascara.
And she was a little, she scared me a bit.
She was a scary woman.
Yeah.
I mean, she was
so
brilliant.
I liked Uta Hagen and Herbert Berghoff, and
Yes.
so I went to HB.
HB.
Student. Yeah, it was
Okay.
great. It was great. I had
Yeah.
Alice Spivak was my teacher. I don't
Okay,
know if
yeah.
you ever heard of her.
I have heard of that. I
Yeah.
have heard of her. Yes, Stella Adler was scary but brilliant.
Scary but brilliant. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So I studied with her disciples, her students. And it was a great experience. You know, I was in the musical theater studio my first year, and then left after 1 year because everybody just was too happy for me. I was sort of longing for that New York acting school experience of
you wanted
feeling like I
drama?
wanted a little bit of drama. I wanted to
Serious
feel like there were
drama.
some tortured souls around me.
Enough
I
musicals.
had done musical theater for so long that by the time I got to NYU, it wasn't that I didn't need training, you know, but I was ready for a real acting conservatory.
Yeah.
You know, enough tap dancing. I couldn't do it anymore.
So what of tap dancing?
Yeah.
I actually can tap dance.
Can you?
Yes.
I cannot.
Oh,
I
not
cannot
anymore?
dance. I
Not
cannot
even the-
dance at all. I mean,
Really?
I'm a really horrible dancer, and
You
that
can't even do the time step?
I can do the time step. I can do simple step ball change. I can move across the stage.
Yeah.
But I have
But dancing's not your thing.
I have an incredible lack of coordination, and that has been a challenge for me, you know, since the beginning. It really has been. I mean, that's why I took this job on a cruise ship back in the early 2000s, and ended up leaving because they said they wanted a lead singer, and it turned out they expected me to be a lead dancer as well. And so it didn't work out so well. Yeah.
How long were you on the cruise ship?
Oh, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
That was it. I was
Did
said,
you
get me off this
Did
thing.
you get to cruise at least to an island?
Went
and
to
get some-
Bermuda
Okay.
once.
Got a little bit of beach time.
Tried to escape in Bermuda, was not allowed because there are all sorts of
Rules there.
customs and
Yeah, they're very stiff upper lip there. Yeah,
So,
I've never been.
that was sort of the beginning of a pretty big breakdown. That experience. And
Your
that
19th
was,
nervous
it was,
breakdown.
No, it was the ultimate nervous breakdown.
That
it was,
one was.
It
Was
was
that
a real
2004?
pivotal.
No.
It was 2003. It was a real pivotal moment in my life. Because I have struggled my entire life with a bevy of mental illnesses, and this it was the culmination of many years of struggle, and it was the turning point. It was sort of the climax of the worst of the worst. It was sort of the worst it could ever get, and it needed to happen because now it's so all of that. It seems so far away. Now I'm in my 30s.
You broke through to the other side.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful to have made it to my 30s because the 30s are wonderful. I mean, I feel so healthy, physically and mentally and emotionally sound. My 20s, I was a wreck.
We're all so young.
I was a wreck.
We think we know everything, but we're all so young.
It was really hard for me to just live day to day.
Boy, enjoy the 30s, because the odd thing about the 30s is that you're 30 one day and suddenly you're 60. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know
So
where
I've
the 40s
heard.
and 50s go, but you're 30 and then you're 60.
Yeah.
So
I've heard that
it's
can
really
happen.
a wonderful, wonderful period.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had the breakdown, and then you went to the broadcasting school?
Well, first I went to Johns Hopkins Hospital
How long
for
were you
about
there?
10 days.
Wow.
And it wasn't about 10 days, it was 10 days, I
Yeah.
think. And
In the psych ward
In the psych ward.
with all the crazy
What an
people?
experience.
I've been there.
It was fabulous.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it back for anything in the world. It was an incredible, just an experience to have. I mean, how many days can you?
I hope you wrote things
I
down,
did. Well, I
because
did
the people are so nutty.
I did. I wrote a monologue about the whole experience. But how many people can say that they woke up one morning and they were in a mental hospital? I mean, fabulous. I love my life. I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's because of that. It goes both ways. I think that if you have that depth of the potential to go that deep, yeah. Into that depth of despair,
Yeah.
you also have the potential to go in the opposite direction, which is really sort of the problem to
pendulum.
begin with.
Well, are you manic depressive?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Although, I used to really think of myself as bipolar. I used to sort of cling to that identity, and now I don't
Well,
anymore.
because now we know
It's-
so much of it is diet and,
Right.
and the chemical balance in your body.
Well, I'm not sure about that for me, but
Well, a lot of it is.
I think
I think you're in a lot healthier state now in so many ways.
in many ways,
Yeah.
ways, and I think that it was something that I really almost. It was like a crutch almost. It was a way of seeing myself. It was a fixed identity of seeing myself as the victim, as the patient. And that's really the big change from my 20s to my 30s, is that now I don't see myself, I don't identify as manic depressive or this or that.
Right.
It's nice to be, I'm a lot of things.
Yeah,
That's just one of
your
them.
life is very fulfilling now because you're so great on the radio, and you're probably so appreciated at the station because they didn't have a personality like you before.
Thank
They
you.
didn't. No,
Thank you.
Truly. And the whole thing you do each day, that when you read from the birthday book, and I think people really tune in, especially on their birthdays. They want to hear
Well, thank you.
all that.
It's been a wonderful experience for me. It's been a learning experience. I started in radio out here on the East End. I left briefly and went back to New York, and I filled in at a few Connecticut stations and upstate New York. And then I came back in 2007 to do the morning show on WBAZ, and that was wonderful. I mean, it was a wonderful opportunity to have been given, because you learn, and radio you learn by doing.
By doing.
You can't go, yes, I went to broadcasting school, but I could have done without it.
Yeah. So tell us how that works at a radio station. Do you have to, does somebody program all the music or pick all the music that's played, or do you have to do that too, or do you tell them kind of what you want, or
these
how does
days
that work?
Radio, you
Must
show
be really
up.
complicated.
It's not.
Oh,
It
okay.
it seems it, but it's not. And these days in radio, the job of the personality is to show up and talk and entertain and connect connect.
Luckily, you're the personality.
Technically, it's so easy these days because everything is automated, everything is computerized, and the log is in the computer. That day's music log is ready to
Yay.
go. So when I show up, I know exactly what song will be played during my show and for the rest of that 24 hours.
Wow.
So I can focus on what's going on that day.
Yeah.
And I can focus on connecting with the listener.
And do you kind of, and you do it every day or 5 days a week?
5 days a week, Monday
days
through
a week.
Friday.
And so do you kind of read the newspaper, or do they give you news headlines, or what?
That's all up to
What
me.
kind-
No one
it's
gives
all up
me.
to you.
No one gives you anything.
Okay.
It's all up to you, and that goes for It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, how much experience you have. I mean, I remember when I was very green, and I filled in at a station in Bridgeport, Connecticut, Weeby 108, which we actually get out here. No one tells you what to do.
How
I
do
mean,
you,
you
how
know,
do you think of the things to say?
Well,
when,
that's
in between each set?
that's the job. That's your job. You know when you're going to talk.
Yeah.
That's it. You know how many times an hour you'll talk and when, between what songs, and the length, roughly the length of the break. And a break is when you talk. It's radio lingo, terminology for when you talk. And that's it, so the rest is up to you.
And it just kind of comes through you.
Well, it doesn't. You want to prepare as much as possible. And the more prepared you are, the better you're going to be, because if you're prepared, then you can relax and let go and trust that you're enough. And then that gives you the freedom to be spontaneous.
And how do you prepare?
I sometimes start the night before. If there's something on television that people are going to be talking about, I want to make sure to watch it, and I'll take a few notes. And then the next day before my show, I get to the station a few hours before I go on, and I'll read the New York Times, and I'll read the Post, and I'll read all kinds of magazines and newspapers, and make a note of what I want to talk about. Whether it's relevant
so
on
then you have keywords and notes, and you just go off that. And
I make notes, and sometimes I'll write out exactly what I'm going to say verbatim, and then my job is to
make it sound spontaneous.
make it sound like I'm not reading off a page, which is easier for me because
Well, the
I have
birthday things you're kind of reading.
that
off the
I'm
page.
reading from
You highlight the things you want to read out
a
of
book
it.
by Gary Goldschneider,
Yeah.
but sometimes I am.
It's pretty right on.
Sometimes
that
I
book,
am
isn't
reading, but the job is to sound sound
yeah.
like it is spontaneous,
Yep, and it does.
and that's easier for me because I have a background as an actor.
Yeah.
So that's fun for me. And sometimes I don't know exactly what I'm going to say, and but I have notes. I always have something. I always know what. I always have an intention for what I want to say, or what I want to do, or the effect I want to have.
What is your favorite part of the show? What part?
My favorite part of doing my afternoon show is talking to other people. And I would say that's really my favorite aspect of radio in general, is interviewing people.
you have people on for interviews?
I do. And
I have Sirius Radio now, and I did get a little hooked on it. But I always listened to your show before that.
well, I
And
don't have
need to
interviews
get
every
back-
day.
Yeah.
But,
now
I have more so in the summer when it's
Well, and
busy.
more interesting people out here in the summer. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really do love, and I have a passion for connecting with people. And I'm the kind of person who can sit down with anybody from, people from all walks of life.
Right.
The more different, the better. And learn something new about what it is to be a human being.
Oh,
and
that's
that's
so great.
really, that's the kind of radio that I want to create, is real. I want it to be real. And I
Yeah.
can say that for my interviews, and I can say that in general. That's really my intention.
You want to be an authentic person.
I want to be authentic.
Yeah, I think we
I
all strive for that.
I made the decision early on that, okay, I may not know what I'm doing 100%. I may be inexperienced, but I don't want to sound like the radio announcer.
You don't. So, do you have any
I
other?
want to be just myself.
Yeah. So, what else do you do with your free time? Do you have hobbies? Do you
I
swim?
do. I am married to a wonderful man who is a dancer. He's a ballet dancer. And so I'm with him a lot of the time.
Where you sent out something saying you went to the laundromat and you put the clothing in and you
Oh,
went
that
out.
was over the weekend.
Oh my God!
I go to Brooklyn
Is that where
most
he
weekends,
lives?
which is where he is.
And you.
And took a load of laundry to the laundromat on Union Street in Park Slope, Brooklyn, put my load of laundry in, put it in the dryer, left to get a bite to eat, came back, and the laundromat was closed.
Did you get the clothing back?
I was freaking out.
I would be freaking out too.
I literally thought about sleeping on the street in front of the
So that no
laundromat
one
so
could
that
take
no
your
one took my
clothes.
diesel jeans.
Yeah.
My clothes are very
expensive clothes.
important. They're not necessarily all expensive, but they're important to me.
They're important, and
I am
they're-
very
yeah.
vain and very
But what about nachos?
superficial
clothes?
and materialistic.
Yeah.
As deep as I am, I'm also very Nacho's clothes too. And I'm thinking,
well, you
oh
can
my
let go
God,
of your own clothes because it was your mistake.
he's
but
gonna
his
kill me.
clothes- Well,
So anyway.
did he laugh that night?
No,
was
he didn't laugh. He was not happy.
But you got all the clothes. The next day, the laundry was open. I hope
Yeah, I
it
said,
wasn't
do
a
you
Sunday.
forgive me? He said, I'll forgive you when you get my pants
Clothes.
back.
Yeah.
Which I did.
Oh, that's
Thank
so funny.
goodness.
So, okay, so you go to Brooklyn on weekends. What else do you do?
I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I have an audiobook fetish.
I love audiobooks.
I've always read. I've always been a big reader.
Mm-hmm.
But only in the last 4 or 5 years have I discovered the audiobook. And it's perfect for me because
You're driving to Brooklyn and
driving
back?
a lot.
Yes.
I spend a lot of time in the car. And there's something about listening to a story being told. There's something about the act of storytelling that I really connect to and relate to and enjoy.
I think the first audiobook I ever listened to was The Women of Brewster Place.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And the same woman did all of the different voices of all of these different women.
Mm-hmm.
And it just blew my mind. And it is such an interesting and wonderful story of, women surviving in an underprivileged area. It was really amazing.
I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah.
I mean, I really
What's
do.
your
I go
favorite
through.
one?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It's so hard. I did love The Secret Life of Bees, and what was The Help? Of course, was great.
Oh,
And A Night of the Gun by David Carr, who's a writer for the New York Times. And gosh, one of my favorite writers is Julia Glass, Sue Miller.
I started listening to Angela's Ashes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really good, but it was really depressing. And
Yeah.
after about the fourth tape, and this was a while ago when it was tapes,
Right.
I was like, why am I doing this to
Yeah.
myself?
Right.
I stopped.
Well, I'm always listening to multiple things at the same time. I have to have something that's fiction. I always have to have a memoir and something spiritual
Oh,
to keep
good.
me-
Spiritual.
to keep me on my toes.
Yes,
To
exactly.
keep me awake.
So where do you see yourself 10 years from now, Walker Vreeland?
I see myself somehow integrating the radio and my passion for performance. And I don't necessarily know what that means. I would like to continue talking to as many people as I possibly can. Artists in particular. I would love to interview artists for the rest of my life.
Gosh, there's enough artists. My husband is an artist.
This is your husband's?
Yeah, Michael McDowell.
I love that.
Oh, thanks.
Boys walking through a field.
Yeah, boys just want to
Lovely.
have fun.
Boys just want to have fun. Yes, they do. So, you know, I don't know how it's going to manifest itself, but somehow, you know, utilizing all of my talents, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's on the radio or on the stage, you know, really utilizing, because I feel like right now, I have a lot of talent that is lying dormant.
Well, you know, LTV is a great place to do a show. Need to go look at our board. It's very high tech now.
I will.
I did a show here like 18 years ago, and we had to lug the cameras all around. And I had to have 3 cameramen in here.
Right.
Well, we didn't even have in here. It was in a little studio. But it's it's such a wonderful opportunity, people, for anybody to do a show. It's public access TV.
And it is wonderful,
wonderful staff here.
Wonderful to be in the ladies' room.
Oh, thank
I mean, just
you.
saying that, it feels a little scandalous, you know? I feel like, you know, I've been in the ladies' room my entire life.
All right.
You know, I don't know what that means, but sounds true.
Okay. Well, we loved having you here. Thank you so much for coming.
It was a pleasure,
and
Judy.
Come back again.
Thank you
Let's
so
do a
much
show
for having
together.
me.
Well, we should have had you sing today.
Next time. Next time.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Listen to Walker on WBAZ, the afternoon show, 102.5. And I hope you get the opportunity to see him sing because he's amazing. And ladies, remember to give yourself lots of room. Room for love, room for fun, room to grow, and room to glow. See you next week. Bye.
Breathe in.